I'm here with Mark Hisnick at the Infotech Live event, and Mark, you spent many decades as CIO of Alcoa. Tell me about that briefly.
Well, I made my way up, I have to say, similar to you. I started as a COBOL programmer right out of university, and by the time of the end of my career, 32 and a half years later, I was actually the CIO of a global Fortune 100 company.
Now, you've just retired and you've seen all kinds of meetings.
Yes.
What was the impact of this to you?
Well, in a technical meeting, it's often very dry. It's about process, it's about new technologies, it's about future trends. What I liked about and I was saying to your wife as well, is it brings a human nature to perseverance, because that's what big business is about. That's what business is about. It's the human nature. It's about perseverance. It's about facing your challenges and your fears and not giving into it. And like I said, I wish my children were here to see this as well, not just the industry and all the technical people here, but also just how you didn't back down and you always challenged yourself. And I think in business, if everyone continues to challenge themselves, they will reach the top, or the top of what they want to make of their careers. Oftentimes we settle for mediocrity, or we settle for that plateau, and we don't go any much further because we're afraid.
And that's what my keynote has been all about, was facing those fears. But when you look at fears, what is the big concern you have for the IT industry?
Well, obviously privacy. I fear that we are moving more toward profitability than worrying about privacy and how this affects us as individuals. That's number one.
And the sad part with the privacy and the whole problem of hacking, as I said on the stage,
yes,
CIOs have to be right all the time. A hacker only has to be right once.
That is correct. So we're one mistake away from being fired. And I think the other thing, as well as technology, it's also dehumanizing. So let me give you another example. The conversation we're having right here. It's so much more impactful than if you and I were chatting or sending an email to one another. The written word could be misconstrued. And again, I have teenage daughters, and I always emphasize with them, pick up the phone. Don't do everything electronically, because we're losing the human nature of communication, those basic communication skills. The wonderful presentation you gave up on stage, you couldn't have given that through an electronic means, like an email or written word. And you being in person is so much more impactful. You picked up the one person's arm at like a pump. You were showing your suitcase and your sextant, your treasure chest. And again, in today's tech, there's a good balance between using technology for good and not evil, and as well as maybe stopping technology when you. And I tell my staff all the time, you will get problem solved so much quicker if you pick up the phone versus sending 20 emails to that person. And right. Like I said, be pragmatic. I use the word all the time. Be pragmatic. And if you're pragmatic, I think you'll be successful.
Thank you so much for your insights and for sharing what you just shared.
I recommend this guy. I do, for your conference.
Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate that.